You're listening to The Perfected Geek. The Perfected Geek. Advice and stories from others who share your hobbies and passions while striving to level up in the real world. Helping you find the perfect balance between what you like to do for fun and what you have to do for a living. Personal, professional, geek. Love what you love. Here's your host, Craig Powell.
Hey everybody, and thank you for listening to another episode of The Perfected Geek. I'm talking to Yoystan today, and Yoystan is from the YouTube channel Men of the West. Every week he releases content about the legendarium of J.R.R Tolkien, such as The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and other works. His videos have had more than 5.8 million views and is subscribed to by over 60,000 fans. I found his channel as a recommended watch on YouTube, and after the first video I was hooked. By combining video, images, and music that are all from or inspired by Tolkien's works, he dives into super deep reviews and backstory history of the characters, places, and events in Middle-earth. Yoystan, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Excellent, great. And to start things off, why don't you tell us a little bit about your interest, your hobbies, and the things that you really geek out about?
Well, primarily, right, is I just love all of Tolkien's works. I grew up with them, the movies, the video games, and obviously the books. I just love it all. But Lord of the Rings isn't my only passion. I love Star Wars. That's like my secondary fandom. And Game of Thrones, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. Other than that, really, I like to still just play the video games and delve into the lore. Read the different books from all these different fandoms just when I have the time and when they kind of catch my eyes. I love it all, right? It inspires me as I go through every day just to be honorable and compassionate like these characters. So.
Yeah, excellent. And I definitely can tell already that we're kindred in that way because everything that you just described is basically a checklist for myself. For me, Star Wars is my first love. I came to it as a small child and continued to love it growing up, and still am a collector today of Star Wars things. And but yeah, and it's great that I found your channel because actually I came to the whole Lord of the Rings universe a little bit later, I would say, really when the movie came out, the first of the trilogy came out, and actually I didn't even see it in the movies. I found it later, and it was like I saw it and I knew that it was something that I would like, but at the time I just didn't have time to go check it out. And after work one day, I think I was like 17, 18 maybe. I was working at a Subway restaurant, and I came out of there after work. I'd made myself a sandwich to go home and enjoy, and right across the street from where I was working was one of those places that sells used DVDs,
Oh yeah,
and I was like, I'm gonna go find something to watch today, eat this sandwich, and just kind of relax or whatever. Ended up finding a pretty good deal on the Fellowship of the Ring, and and I took it home, and it was like I was just sucked in, instantly, and I loved it, and went on and watched the next two in the theaters, as they came out.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, and so then I started just sort of on that path of learning more, as we talk about on the show, what it means to be a geek. I mean, you just, you go deep on it, right?
Definitely.
When you find
exactly.
something, I mean, you kind of immerse yourself, and so I used to go and spend countless hours, in between work projects or whatever, on the wiki. I used to go read that. Yeah, like this, just going down rabbit holes on that deal. So when I found your channel, it was like, man, this is exactly what I was looking for.
Awesome. Yeah. About a few years ago, I think it was the end of 2014 is when I started my channel. But ever since I was a kid, as far back as I can remember, I have loved Tolkien's works. My dad introduced me to them and the movies and the video games. So I always have these fond memories of just playing those games with my family and delving into the lore. And just like you said, the Wikipedia rabbit holes. Oh, I still go down those. I'll just be like, hey, I'm thinking about something that I read a while back. I'm just going to go check that out. And then I'll be scrolling through for, 20 minutes and I'll be like, oh, wow, I got to make a video on this or I got to talk about this. This is crazy. I didn't know that this happened like that.
Yeah, exactly. My biggest problem is I'll go there to look for one thing, whether it's
exactly.
whether it's about a fandom like this or even if it's just regular Wikipedia, and you go to look for one thing, and while you're reading that, you open up 7 more tabs of other things that you saw. I was like, I gotta read that. Exactly. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. But if you had to pick one geek niche that you're an expert in, what would that be?
Oh yeah, definitely Tolkien's legendarium. If I had to give another answer, then I would also say Star Wars. But compared to like some of the people that I talk to or other YouTubers that I watch that does Star Wars content, I know probably about 5% of the total canon out there. But there's always just been something that has drawn me to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the Silmarillion more than other fandoms, right? For me, there's a lot of heart in each of these characters. The environments, the settings that all of the characters explore, I feel like I could be there as well, I feel like to some degree we are there because it is based, because Tolkien's legendarium is based on, it's kind of its own world history, right? Tolkien wrote it as a sort of history to our world. And I can tell, right, with some of the writings that he does, you can tell that he's really inspired by nature. And again, there's just so much heart, so much passion in the legendarium to where it just draws me in every time.
Sure, yeah. Well, and it's something where when you start going down and finding all that, there's always more stories there. And I think, that's really when people find a passion like that around a topic or a set of stories. And obviously Tolkien, I mean, he set he kind of made what eventually other people would try to do, but nobody's ever been able to do it quite like he did. I mean, we've got these massive worlds too. I see a lot of his influence on things like the Wheel of Time series, or obviously Game of Thrones. I mean, those things like that. And while they kind of follow that blueprint, it's never anywhere near what he was able to do. And it's crazy because he was able to do it so many years ago before there was an established, trend for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there are still new things that I find out, with every video, with every different thing that I research. Just yesterday when I was making my Valar of Middle-earth video, I realized that there was a whole war that I had not even really known about, war for sake of the elves. And it's just like, I can tell that Tolkien really put a lot of thought and time and energy into everything that he built. I mean, he wrote it for most of his life, and you can definitely tell when you go through.
Yeah, well, and speaking of Star Wars, to kind of play off of that, it's like, we have a little bit of that in that we had those stories that, of course, when the first movie came out, we didn't know it was going to be Episode 4, right?
Oh, yeah.
But later we decided that it was, and then George Lucas went back and told the prequel stories, but even that, what they've done there isn't anywhere near compared to the thousands of years of interconnected history that one man was able to do. I mean,
exactly.
Tolkien was able to do so many different things that tied in, and of course, his son finished a lot of his stuff, of course, later. But it's just amazing to see the events and the things that tied together, literally thousands of years apart by one person, instead of like in the Star Wars universe, you had dozens and dozens of writers and teams of people putting out content to try to do it. And now, of course, you've got the story group, which tries to oversee a lot of that stuff. But it's just crazy to think that one person, and really, he bounced his ideas off some other people and stuff, but he was mostly working to himself. It's just crazy to think of,
Yeah, and that's the thing about Tolkien is he always... I don't think he really liked criticism all that much from a lot of his friends. C.S. Lewis, right?
Sure.
He would hear their criticisms out, and then he would just kind of dismiss it and continue writing in his own way. Which I think if you're going to write your own fiction and your own legendarium, your own world, it has to be somewhat, original. It can't be this kind of thing that everyone has their thoughts and hands in. It really has to come from one source.
Sure. And the other good thing, and you hit on it just a little bit ago, where he was inspired by so many things. He even probably was critiquing some things that were going on in the modern world at his time.
Oh, definitely.
I know there's allegory for the destruction of nature and the and a lot of comments on war and different things like that. But honestly, it's nowadays when people try to do that, it's so heavy-handed. It's like hitting you over the head. Whereas in his world and the way that he wrote things, it almost it's an elegant way of doing it more than hit you over the head.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing about Tolkien is, I think every writer is inspired by world events going on around them. He also didn't like allegories or metaphors, or at least people trying to decipher what those were. Because every time, right, like there were some theories going around that Saruman was a symbol for Hitler, and he always kind of neglected. He always just pushed those theories away and said it's its own story.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily somewhat inspired by these world events. And like you said, it's very elegant. And I think to some degree, in trying not to do it, he just did it in such an elegant way,
Sure. All right. So tell us, what do you do for a living professionally?
Well, as of now, I'm a college student. For my only job is really YouTube right now, making videos. But I'm a political science student, and I love that. Eventually, I want to get a career in political science and try to help people that way.
Okay, excellent. And as far as your online brand with the Men of the West, is it mostly the YouTube channel, or what other ways do you promote your brand online?
Well, primarily it's the YouTube channel, but I have a Twitter and Facebook because like comment sections in YouTube, it's so easy for a comment to get lost. But on Twitter and Facebook, it's easier for people to communicate with me more directly and send me messages and ask me certain questions. Hey, what do you think about this part of Tolkien's story? But yeah, primarily I communicate just through YouTube. If I want to tell a lot of people, I'll make a video on something, channel update. But if it's more just kind of an individual thing, I'll just make a post to Facebook and Twitter. So.
Okay. Yeah, and we get a lot of feedback from people who are looking for ways to take advantage of the power that is the internet and the way that it's changed people's abilities to find, you don't even need to be somebody who's listened to by millions upon millions of people. You literally can find an audience that is in a super specific niche, similar to what you've done.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of turn out a business model out of that. And you already said it a little. It sounds like you're a full-time college student, but you're doing this, I guess, part-time, we could say. To kind of brand your fandom there. And people are always, again, looking for ways to know how to set that up and do that better. Can you tell us a little bit about how you make a living from that? Are you using affiliate programs or Patreon sponsorships? Like what kind of model?
Purely, as of now, it's just AdSense, Google AdSense. I plan to grow from here, right? But right now it's just whatever kind of YouTube provides, which is pretty unstable. I don't think there's a YouTuber out there that would say that AdSense is the most stable source of income, because it really fluctuates depending on YouTube's kind of economy, what kind of videos are being put out there. But
sure.
But yeah, as of now, it's not the most reliable income, but it's good enough for a college student.
Sure.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. And tell us what made you decide to start putting out content and broadcasting those hobbies and interests to the world? Being a full-time college student, obviously you're not short of things to do at any given time. But
definitely.
What made you decide to do that?
Well, as I looked through YouTube, right, as I watch Star Wars and Game of Thrones content, at least there wasn't when I started. There wasn't a lot of Lord of the Rings videos and creators out there. So really, I always thought back to my childhood, how these stories were told to me, and how they have always inspired me to make a change in my life. So I just kind of wanted to take the opportunity, right, grab a microphone, grab some editing software, and just kind of tell a story, right? Tell a story that's worth telling. Because you have all these different creators for different fandoms out there, but I really think J.R.R. Tolkien's stories are worth having their own videos about, having their own explanations. Again, it goes back to just there's a lot of heart in those stories, and I feel like if if they can put a smile on somebody's face out there, it's been a good video. It's been a good day.
Yeah, excellent. And I think you're completely right and pure in what you set out to do there. There's people that look to to capitalize on a trend or something like that, and they want to put out stuff there to make money or whatever. And it's the great thing is when you can do something you love. Of course, that trope of when you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
In that way, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you probably would make those videos if 5 people watched them because you just doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got 100 subscribers last June, but I had been making videos on a weekly basis for about 4 months up until that point, and I had so much fun doing it. Like, every weekend, it's still just a great opportunity. Something that I love to do is just sit down, talk about a topic, some of my thoughts and opinions on it, but mostly how Tolkien explained it in the context of his works. And it's just I get some comments, whether it's 10 comments or 100, it's about the message. And I get some people out there that say that they just look forward to this on their Sundays, or it helps them get through the work week. And I think honestly that just makes it easier for me too. That makes it a lot more fun for me to do, because I know a lot of people out there have fun with it, and it gives them something to look forward to and something to inspire them.
Yeah, it's exactly true, and it's funny because your channel included, I've got several ones that I'm subscribed to, and it's like anytime there's a new one, it's like, ooh, it's like a friend coming over, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, and so that's great. And again, I can definitely tell that from your love, and you're totally right in that. And as I recommend to other people whenever I discuss this, is it's got to be something you truly are passionate about, not just from if it'll work, because I think the ones that work are the ones where the true passion and fandom come through. Because people like us who we can tell the difference between somebody who's just trying to talk about it versus somebody who's actually passionate about it, and it'll just be annoying to you if it's something that you're passionate about and you're trying to watch or listen to somebody else talk about it. It's painful.
Exactly.
If you know that they're, it's like, man, I don't want to be rude, because my philosophy is love what you love and do your thing, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to listen to. So I definitely don't get that there. But for me, it's also good to see people like yourself carry on the banner, so to speak, of stuff like Tolkien's works, which I also love, because you've got the ebb and flow of interest right in the property. And of course, you had that initial surge of people coming in whenever that first trilogy was released. And then it kind of waned for a little while until the Hobbit movies came out, and you had a surge, and now we're several years removed from those, so it's probably waning. Maybe it'll grow again with this live action TV show or whatever that may or may not happen. But it's good because I think that the stories are timeless, the themes are timeless, as you point out all the time. And so I think it's good there, and it seems like you get good feedback then from people on that then.
Yeah, I mean, I always say this to people, just that I see on like a daily basis, is that if it were a different kind of content, right? If I wasn't talking about J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium, I don't think I could do a channel on it, because there's nothing else out there really that I am as passionate about. And I know that there are more people already established that are more passionate about it anyway, that deliver really good content. And it's like, I have nothing more to add to that conversation. But with Tolkien's works, it's something that I think should be discussed more and should be remembered more, because it's something that when people really get invested into the lore, it's something that people just fall in love with.
Sure. All right, yeah, and on this show, we want to explore the clashes of your hobbies and interests with making a living, or in your case, balancing an education while also making a living. Have you ever faced negativity, though, regarding your interest and your, insane love for Tolkien? Have you ever faced any negativity with that?
Well, like a lot of my friends will be like, oh, it's cool that he has a YouTube channel, but it's kind of geeky or whatever. And I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, it is. And I love it. It's awesome. I often find myself, when I'm listening to my professors, just sketching, pictures of like the Shire or Sting or Glamdring or something. Just because it's like, it's always in the back of my mind. And when I open that up, I can just retain other things better, like political science.
Right.
And I always think that's kind of something that that many people just need to embrace, is that they shouldn't push it away. They shouldn't push away their true passions and fandoms and things that they care about. They should embrace them and know when it's a good time to talk about them and when it's a good time to just, silently reflect about them and sketch for yourself,
Sure. Yeah, and it's gotten obviously a lot more acceptable, so to speak, to be.
Definitely.
It's a buzz term. It's a popular thing to be a geek now, or a nerd, I guess, if whatever term you'd like to use for that type of fandom. It's popular now. There's all these movies coming out all the time that make $1 billion every time. It's mainstream now to watch or listen or read certain things much more than it used to be. So I don't think that it's you're not getting lunch money's not getting taken, so to speak, when it comes to you professing that you like it. But really, this is a different thing, because I think you have that casual fan, or you have that casual person who's kind of into it, but then they set that aside, and the people that we like to talk to and that are kind of attracted to the content we're putting out are the type of people who it's a little bit further. I mean, they eat and drink it, they live it, they breathe it, kind of thing, and they want to take that passion and figure out a way to turn that into something that not only, if it's not just about the money, if you can make a living or even subsidize your living a little bit with putting that out there, then that's great. But it's also more of figuring out a way to connect with other people and make friends and and have a community that's bigger than what is immediately around you in reality. That's the other thing of the internet, which is why it's blown up and worked, is because it connects us with people. But I think also beyond that, the thing that I'm interested in is I have found numerous times where, because of the fandoms that I've had for things like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, I think that it's created in me maybe skills, or created in me a way of looking at things that I've been able to actually translate into my real world professional life even.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So tell us a time of maybe when you achieved success because of maybe the way that you're able to study and break down the history of Lord of the Rings. Is that translated into then the skill set that you use when you're pursuing a degree?
I mean, I would say so, right? At the beginning of every semester, the professors will go through and say, we're going to have 2,000-word papers or whatever it is. And I just think, well, most of my scripts are, 2,000-ish words. So it shouldn't be, I could use those research skills, the motivational skills, to just apply that to this paper, right? Because every weekend I'll just sit down for an hour or two and just knock out a script for my next video.
Sure.
And it's just about finding and connecting that motivation to that fandom. I mean, for instance, Tolkien was big about writing and exploring cultures and history. So I know that if he learned a lot from certain histories, that I can as well, and that I just need to keep my ears open and to pay attention to those kind of things.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Tell us, what's a favorite memory or story regarding your fandom?
Let's see here. Oh, I have quite a few, right? So
just start sharing them. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, so to start off with, I would say Battle for Middle-earth. Have you ever played that game?
Only briefly. I've never dived into it very much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's like a strategy game for Lord of the Rings, and I've played that game for years with my dad and brother. Every once in a while, like once every few weeks, I'll play with my grandparents and my father on Lord of the Rings Online. Have you ever played that one?
I have. I definitely played that.
Yeah. It's so much fun just to connect and again dive into a world and have these conversations with my family and be like, did you know about this certain thing that happened in the books, and we'll just have to go and explore it, and then next week we'll talk about it again, that kind of thing. Oh gosh, when I was younger, I was kind of getting picked on just for being a little bit of a reclusive person, and my dad told me to. I was actually playing Lord of the Rings Online right at the time on my character Yoystan, which is where I got my name from, and he told me, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to be like Yoystan. You have to be this courageous kind of person and stand up for what you believe in. And ever since that changed my life, right? I have to, take these inspirations that I get from Tolkien stories and try to make the world a better place, not just for myself, but for other people. So I would say, yeah, just those kind of stories stick with me and always will.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. And I have some similar ones there too, where I remember going to a garage sale when I was a kid, and I got to spend a little bit of money, and I found this toy, and I still have it actually, and I don't think it was any popular one that was like sold a lot of places or whatever, but it was like this little sort of a Lincoln Log kind of Lego type set that you could put together, and it was like a spaceship, right? And it came with this little space guy in an astronaut looking suit, and you could put him inside this deal. And it wasn't from anything specific. It wasn't specifically Star Wars, but because I liked Star Wars and Star Trek, I liked space related stuff or whatever. And so I remember having this thing, and for whatever reason, I connected with that little deal, and I used to carry it around in my pocket when I was in grade school. And any time that I would feel nervous or anything, I would sort of stick my hand in my pocket and feel that thing, sort of like almost like an emotional anchor, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, and it was something that I probably would have been embarrassed at the time to admit it, but I'm not now. On into high school, there were a few times where I had to get up and speak in front of large crowds or whatever, and I was nervous. I would actually bring that thing with me and stick it in my stick my hand in my pocket, right? And so it's a silly kind of cheesy thing, but I think that it shows you that whatever it is, and it changes for people, right? I mean, it can be a lot of different things for different people. But I think that these fandoms, they do become part of your world, and like you just described in your story, they become something of a family bonding time too.
Oh, exactly.
And it's like my parents, neither of them were ever overly big into Star Wars, but my mom was in college at the time that New Hope came out.
Oh, cool.
And so we bonded it when I was a kid. I remember when I first got into it, she told me a story about how her and her friends would skip class and go see it 4 or 5 more times, because it was so popular.
It's awesome.
They thought it was awesome. And there's just all these times where I think it becomes, between friends or family, it can become bonding time. So that's the kind of stories I like to hear.
I mean, one of my best friends, I actually met him because he overheard me in class one day saying that I played Lord of the Rings online. And he said, what server are you on? I told him the server, and he played on the same one. And so we just connected. And ever since, that was years ago, and still we're really good friends today. And that's, like you were saying, it just becomes a part of your real world. I still, every day I have on my, left finger or left index finger, the Ring of Barahir. And it's cool to see just when every once in a while somebody will recognize that and say, hey, is that from Lord of the Rings? And immediately I'll just be like, yeah, it is. You're cool.
It's funny because it's and this isn't unique, I suppose, to these type of fandoms. It's probably the same for anybody who's into something. It could be football, or it could be almost any type of a fandom. But whenever you could meet somebody that you've never met before in your life, that you've never talked to, and the minute you start talking and you connect on just a few points, it's like you've known them all along. Right?
Oh, exactly.
That's what makes it great, and it's not necessarily unique to that, like I said, but I think it's heightened even more so for fandoms like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or ones like that, where you can, once you realize that that's somebody who's devoted the same amount of time to becoming a quote unquote expert in it as you have, it's that you're on the same plane as them.
Oh, exactly. And it's like they get inspired from the same place. They like relax in the same way, and it's exactly. It's just so cool. You can instantly connect with them.
Yeah. So tell us, what are some current or upcoming projects? And these can be stuff you're doing for your channel, or they could just be media projects that you're excited about, events or other news that you're really looking forward to.
Well, I'm always looking for new kinds of videos to do pertaining to Tolkien's works, and I mean, I don't really have any in mind right now, but if anyone ever has any suggestions, I'm always open to hear them, and those always kind of excite me, right? The lore reviews that I've been doing a little bit more of,
Yeah.
Something I never really thought I would talk about, but things like that are really cool. And I would say in the next 6 months, I'm probably going to get a Patreon so I can do more of this kind of style of discussion, podcasts. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay. Well, so on that note, I kind of have a question here, and the first one will set up the second one. And the first question is, have there ever been any fat elves?
Ooh, fat elves. That's a good question.
Right, because they're all slim and they're all beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, perfect.
I would say if there was one, he would probably exist in the First Age. The High Elves really have a different build than like the Wood Elves do.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, and that sets up my second question, which I would really love to know, how you can eat like a hobbit but look like an elf.
Well, I think there's so much that we really don't know about the elves. Like how long is it that they age before they just stop aging? But I would say they just really have fast metabolisms, and they probably do a lot more exercise than anyone else. I remember, I think it was in The Two Towers and The Return of the King, Legolas was able to walk while sleeping, right? And while resting and sleeping. So he could just, so I imagine they probably even exercise a lot more than anyone else in their sleep. And their metabolisms are fast. They stay young. Basically, they have it all. So...
Yeah, and I think it was one of your videos, and this was several months back.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you realize it, you kick yourself because you never noticed it before.
Oh yeah.
And I had totally missed it because I went back and read The Fellowship of the Ring not too long after I first saw the movie. But at this point, we're talking, what was that, 2001? So 17 years ago. So I had read it, but I only read the book once, and I've seen the movie. I don't even know how many times.
Oh yeah,
and actually of that original trilogy, that's my go-to one. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it was the first one that I sort of fell in love with the fandom on. But it's still, out of all of them, I go to that. If I got nothing else going on, I'll put it on. But I never realized that he walks on top of the snow.
Oh yeah, they are really light creatures.
But him even more so, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's something to do with them growing up in forests, especially. I'm sure they could scale trees no problem. The Sindar, or like the Wood Elves, right? The High Elves, I always imagine, are more kind of warriors, like Fingolfin. I doubt he could scale a tree as fast as Legolas, but being a hunter, being an archer, and being 3,000 years old and having a bunch of practice, I'm sure Legolas is really light on his feet. He can. I know in the books he can see super far away. When they were in Rohan, I think he could see almost to Mordor, right? So they just have these abilities that most of them are explained in the books, but I'm sure that there are some that Tolkien didn't even mention, just kind of wanted us to infer about them. So it's really interesting, yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna throw in a bonus question. So I'm going off script a little bit, but I'm just curious. So have you collected other things from Lord of the Rings? Like, I mean, have you gotten any of the awesome like replicas of weapons, or I mean, do you get into any of that at all?
Oh yeah. So I'm sitting in my apartment right now. My apartment room, and I've got Strider's sword over there. I've got Sting right next to it, and then I've got Aragorn's dagger that he gets in Lothlorien in the movies.
Yeah,
it's got that on a plaque, and then I have a Middle Earth tapestry. I have so much stuff. My dad also collects, and it's awesome. It's so much fun.
Yeah, well, I'm jealous because I was always drawn to. I remember when those movies came out, and I think it was, I don't remember what company it was, but I used to get a catalog in the mail, and I was in college whenever that whenever those movies were coming out, and so I didn't really have an income to blow on stuff like that. And
I get you.
You know, I didn't have a lot. So, but there used to be some catalog that came out, and it was maybe like a cutlery, like United Cutlery or something like that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And they had just a whole series of the shields and the swords and all this stuff, and I would sit there and just drool over it, you know, like, man, I just really wish I could get that. And it's funny because what actually the parent channel for the website that I started that this is on is for Geek Wish Lists, and the reason that I use that term is because that's how I organize my fandom, is into wish lists, you know. And so like on Amazon or wherever, I would have all these wish lists centered around, you know, different fandoms that I want to collect and different things, and I've always been a Star Wars collector, and so that's primarily, you know, my focus.
Cool.
And now in the house that we live in, it's a 2-story house, and basically 80% of the upstairs is all for me.
That's awesome.
Much to my wife's chagrin, I'm sure. Is all for me. And so while I've got way more room than I've ever had, and of course my Star Wars collection has continued to grow, and most of my dollars, expendable dollars, go towards that, but I still will branch off and buy other things, you know, when it allows. And I have like a long wish list for some of those swords and different stuff. So
that's cool, dude. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm jealous because I wish I had it. Of course, at the same time, I've still got some little kids at home, so you know, I'm like, I could probably wait a few more years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, make sure to get them false edged too. I know they actually I think United Cutlery makes some of them actual real swords. It's those are dangerous. I was able to cut a banana open with Gimli's axe, and that's as sharp as I want to go. So
that's funny. Well, and it's funny because I have some stuff now, not a ton of Lord of the Rings stuff, but I do have some, and I get into. I'm a Funko addict a little bit. So,
yeah, cool.
You know, so, and actually just today at my office, I had some Amazon boxes show up, and it was some Lord of the Rings Funko, so it was good timing for me to record this with you today. So
cool.
I got the 6-inch Balrog.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that? Yeah, it looks pretty cool. So I haven't taken it out of the box yet, but it looks pretty cool.
That's awesome.
But one of my things, and I don't know what happened to it, I think it broke or something, or in a move somewhere, I think I lost it, but I remember it was probably around 2002, 2003. I went to a gas station one day to get some food.
Yeah.
Because that's healthy. But I went to a gas station to get some food and a drink or something, and they had, you know, they always have like random stuff for sale in gas stations.
Yeah.
They had this like display of like ceramic figures, and most of them looked like crap, but they had a Gandalf there, and it was Gandalf the Grey.
That's awesome. That's
and
great.
For whatever reason, man, it looked really, really cool, and it was like $10.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought it, and of course, being in college at the time too, I loved to burn incense, you know, in my room.
Yeah.
And so I would have Gandalf there and had the incense like right next to him, so, you know, almost like he was, you know, blowing some smoke.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that thing, but it's funny. Is like I only spent $10 on it, but it was one of my favorite things. You know. It was my Gandalf, and I remember, oh, man, I like on your channels, this was another thing that I thought of, was you incorporate a lot of images, a lot of which I've never seen before. I don't know what your resource is for finding those, but there's so many images that you find, because I love some of the artwork that's been put out there. And of course there's been decades and decades of people who've been making artwork for even before, of course, the movies were popular. But I remember there's one, and you probably will know the image I'm talking about, and it's of Gandalf, and it looks like he's running almost through just a green field, like in the Shire down the road. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I saw that image, and I was like, that is just, it's still one of my favorite images. I had it for my desktop, you know, wallpaper forever.
Oh, yeah. That's always a great art piece. And I mean, I can't take credit for any of that. That's all the online artists out there. And I always say, right, if they ever see my videos and stuff, please contact me and give me a link to their stuff, and I'll put it in the descriptions. I want them to get as much recognition as they're able to. But you know, on the internet and all that kind of stuff, it can get a little murky to figure out, you know, who did this, where did this image exactly come from, and any of those artists out there, their work is just incredible, and I love to give them as much credit as I can.
So here would be a cool video for you to do.
Yeah.
And this may get exhaustive in the research, I don't know, but I never realized until after I became a fan that there were so many references to Lord of the Rings hidden in other, like, music especially.
Oh, yeah.
But other things. Have you ever done anything that's like, going over some of the more popular ways that it's been mentioned? Like, I know Led Zeppelin, for instance,
Oh, yeah,
several songs or whatever. Is that something you've ever done?
Yeah, I mean, I've growing up, I always listened to Led Zeppelin and all that kind of stuff, and I'd always just kind of freak out a little bit and be excited when I'd hear them sing about the Black Riders or the Black Land of Mordor or whatever it is. And yeah, I'd love to make a video actually on that, discussing those more popular songs and their references to Tolkien's mythology or any of that kind of music or whatever it is.
Sure. So I know you also sprinkle it into your stuff, but how much of the languages do you actually speak? Are you fluent in any of them?
No, I'm not fluent. At least not yet.
Okay.
It's funny though, when I started and when I came back a year ago, it was kind of more like in all of my comment sections there would be somebody that just said, actually you pronounce it this way. So I've just been trying to trying to look at all that kind of stuff and figure out how to. I swear, like an hour of every video production is just me trying to say a certain word and its intended purpose in its intended way. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I know some bits of the different languages here and there, but I think the more that I explore, the more I'll be able to speak it.
Well, I'd say by and far you do very well with them. I'm always impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I can tell either that it comes naturally to you or that it's very well rehearsed because you don't like stutter or take a break at all. So that's impressive, more than I can do.
Thank you. That's a lot of editing for me.
Although I think, and I was listening to your latest one or watching your latest one last night on Valar, right? That just came out. Yeah. And I think there was one name that you had like a 1 second pause before you said it, and I'm like, yeah, he's probably struggling with that one.
Oh, definitely. Well,
it was one of the female ones, like towards the end of the list.
Yeah, it's funny. Like as I'm reading through my scripts, I'll actually when I don't know how to say it, I'll take a pause, like a really long pause, and figure out how to say it. Then I'll say it, and then I'll edit that pause down. Nice. As far as I can, without disrupting the quality of the audio, but yeah, oh my gosh, it's so hard. But then after you say it enough times, it's like, I can't say it in a different way than how Tolkien wrote it.
Sure. Well, and it's like, that's there's other fandoms like Star Trek, for instance.
Yeah.
The Klingon, and you run into people. I had a childhood friend that was into Star Trek as much as I was into Star Wars, and we both would, I like Star Trek, but I'm not nearly as into it as I have been Star Wars. But he actually learned how to pretty much speak Klingon, and we went to a Star Trek fan convention in the mid '90s, and he ran into some people and they just started speaking Klingon, and it was like 30 minutes, and I'm like, I'm gonna go wander off somewhere because I don't know what you're saying, but I was just impressed. I think when I started diving into Tolkien, the fact that and again, that was his background, correct? I mean, he was a linguist by
he was. He studied so many contemporary and classic languages. I can't remember exactly how many languages he could speak, but I know he could speak. I think it was 7 or something like that, and that's just crazy. In
addition to the 4 or whatever he created, or however.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's cool too. Is when I'm going through those videos for my language videos where I'll talk about Quenya or anything like that. There are, I think, 4 languages or 3 or 4 languages, and then a bunch of different dialects of that language beneath, and then 2 or 3 ways to read each dialect, Kirith runes or some other kinds of runes, and I just don't know how he did it, but it's amazing.
I mean, and the crazy thing is he fleshed all that out and created entire alphabets, entire languages, entire dialects for stuff that never even would be vital to the story necessarily. I mean, and obviously, well, let's see, when did he first start writing it? I mean, it was before movies had even been created, right?
Yeah,
it was the early 1900s, like 1910, 12, somewhere in there, right? He started writing or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was in I'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure he started writing a lot of the Silmarillion actually in the trenches of World War One. Yeah.
So, it's like all these things he created, not even having the concept that they would be recorded on, in a movie one day.
Exactly.
And it's just the insane amount of detail that he put into it.
Yeah, and when the movies happened, there wasn't enough Khazad-dûl, I believe, the Dwarvish language, that like Tolkien experts had to go back and make a Neo-Khazad-dûl, to where it was an updated version to where they filled in more of the blanks. Yeah, and I made a video on Khazad-dûl last year, and I mean, really, a lot of it was Neo-Khazad-dûl because I couldn't find, which Tolkien did on purpose, as Khazad-dûl is a secretive language. He didn't publish a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I had to go and try to find what I could, find Neo-Khazad-dûl, where is Khazad-dûl mentioned in the books. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's really awesome how much work he put into it.
Well, it probably worked out pretty well then that I always felt like Viggo Mortensen did a very good job
definitely
that, and it's probably good because I think he himself also speaks like several languages.
Yeah, he does.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, we definitely got off on a tangent, but that's
we did.
This is all about. That's how things roll. But tell us, what's the best advice you can give to people who want to level up in the real world and maybe turn their passions into something they can share with other people?
I mean, I would say just always listen and look for opportunities to expand and go out on a limb, take those chances. I can't say that, it'll always turn out to be a job or to be your full-time financial situation, but every chance that you get to explore the stories that you love, try to take those opportunities. In today's economies and workforces, people get caught up doing the jobs that really they don't want to do just to provide themselves a paycheck every month, which I completely understand and respect. But at the same time, it's like you have to be true to yourself. If you really love something, you should make it a part of your everyday values, of how you interact with people, what you like to talk about, and casually merge the two, right? Because that's really how you feel inside. You shouldn't split it up into, okay, here's my job, here's my hobby and my actual passion. Make the two kind of similar and take those chances that are presented. Don't ignore them, because I mean, life is only so long. We're not elves, we're not, immortal, so we only have so many of those chances. And all I would say is, just take up those chances, really explore your passions, never be afraid to throw those out there for people to see, right? Never hide it from people. They can have their opinions of you, whatever it is, but at least you're being true to yourself. So I would say, I mean, that's really the best advice that I could give, is just take up those opportunities and be yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Very well said.
Thank you.
And I think you touched on this a little bit. What are the best ways that people can connect with you if they're interested in finding out more about what you do?
If you want to, talk to me directly, Facebook and Twitter are always good. Their message systems always get through to me. YouTube, their message system is pretty good. The comment sections, the best way after any video, I usually hang around the comment sections and keep updating them roughly an hour after I upload. So if you want to contact me through the comment sections, try to be first, I guess, on those videos. I mean, I try to go through them as much as I can, but after a while, it just becomes just a pit, of a lot of comments. So, just send me messages to get into contact with me directly, and don't be afraid to talk to people on the channel, in the comment sections, because honestly, my community, I love them all so much. They're amazing people, and I'd love to meet so many of them in real life.
So in honor of Lord of the Rings, in the comments section of YouTube videos, do you ever have to put down a cave troll?
Ooh, yeah, I think I think everyone does. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about that,
Sure.
Every once in a while, I'll have to, delete a comment or ban a spam bot, but
sure.
Generally, in comparison to a lot of other comment sections that I've seen where people are just being incredibly rude to one another, again, the community is really great. Every once in a while, you'll get those trolls, and I try to do my best as to, defeat them, right?
Sure,
But I mean, yeah, just they're really pretty good. So
sure. All right. Well, hey, final question: if you were being banished to the Phantom Zone and could pick one collectible to take with you, only one, what would it be?
All right, and this is like not in the mythology, right? It
can be anything you want.
Ooh, okay. I would say my original answer. I was like typing this earlier and trying to figure out what it would be. It would have to be Andúril, the Flame of the West. You know, I think in the Phantom Zone it would do really well. It would look awesome. It would give me a lot of protection from any enemies I might find there, any Oathbreakers, right? I love Andúril.
That's pretty epic. And who knows, maybe as a bonus to that, there would be an army of the dead in the Phantom Zone.
Exactly. Who knows, you know?
All to your bidding.
That's right. And in Isildur's name.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, great. And definitely everybody make sure and go check out Men of the West. It's always great. There's a nice little backlog too, so you can do like I did and just go down a rabbit hole for a week or so and watch every video.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
So Yoystan, thank you, and maybe down the road we'll have you on again to geek out some more.
It sounds great. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thanks.
Once again, thank you to Yoystan for taking the time to join me today. Please, go check out Men of the West on YouTube by using our exclusive link at geeklink.live/Men of the West. Once again, geeklink.live/Men of the West. Also, make sure to check out the show notes for this episode, where there are curated links to some of the items, collectibles, and games we discussed, including where you can get your own Andúril sword to fight off whatever you may find in the Phantom Zone. That can be found by visiting www.geekwishlists.com/TPG01. See you guys next time. Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of The Perfected Geek. For more information about the show, make sure and visit www.theperfectedgeek.com. This podcast is part of the GeekWishLists.com family. All views, discussions, remarks, and content discussed on this show are copyright and trademark for their respective brands and legal entities. No infringement or abuse intended. Only fans discussing things that they geek out about. The Perfected Geek. Love what you love. Trademark 2018, 5 Block Radius, LLC.